So I 50 male and her 51 female have a complicated past to say the least. Short version, we started dating 5 years ago after about a year 4 years ago today. Actually, I caught her in bed with her ex-boyfriend. I take a lot of the blame for that. I wasn't 100% emotionally and physically available to her, and although I was taking steps to rectify that behind the scenes, she, quite reasonably, got tired of waiting. Literally weeks later she got married to a different man she had just met. They moved out of state and were married for several years. They moved back here and he unceremoniously divorced her after spending all of her savings and running up her credit cards. I also partially blame myself for that. Had I been a better partner, she wouldn't have been driven into a conman's arms. We started talking again and it seemed like she was a completely different person for the better. I obviously loved her, and before long we were exclusive within a few months. We continued like this for about 8 months, at which point we got into an argument over a situation that I probably overreacted to, and we separated again for about 8 months, at which point we started talking as friends again. That was around the beginning of the year. Both of us had had a pretty awful time dating, and we were both taking a break from it because it had been such a shit show. So, we weren't dating each other, but we weren't seeing other people either, or so I thought. But because of our history, I was reluctant to do anything more than friends, despite the fact my feelings for her were as strong as ever. It also felt like she had zero interest in anything more than friendship. So, I protected myself, guarded, didn't get any expectations up. And then suddenly, one day in April, a year from the last time we broke up, she texts me, almost angrily, asking why don't I love her. She'd gone on some dates and nobody compares to me. The chain of texts were very confusing, and she finally says that she's relieved she told me. I'm like, what did you tell me? Cause I'm totally confused here. She told me that she loves me and wants to be with me. I explained to her that I'm surprised by this sudden revelation, and start listing off all the little shit I do for her that I sure as hell wouldn't do for somebody I didn't fucking love. My time is limited, and giving it to somebody else is one of the most significant ways I can show my feelings for someone. But I'm also extremely affectionate in traditional ways as well, flirting, physical affection, compliments, etc. And I add, I've always loved her. Even when I was pissed off at her, I tell her I want this time to be different. No secrets, no stupid impulsive decisions, pure transparency. That's my condition of entry. She agrees. She could have looked at my phone at any time and I would have given it to her. All she'd see is my stupid comments on Bitcoin and GameStop. I never asked her to look at hers. I'm not sure what she would have said. I was always afraid she'd get offended by it. Regardless, we make it official and we continue on right where we left off. We start making plans, things we both love, concerts, trips. Some of the absolute best times of my life have been at both with her. I tell her I'm buying tickets for a concert in late 2022 and will she go? Of course, and I'm making longer-term plans. I bought a diamond ring, nothing huge, just something to show her I'm serious and not fucking around. But I hadn't given it to her yet when I got wind of some red flags. I found out that when we started talking again, but before she decided to make us official, she was seeing someone else, and he was cheating with her. I then found out that the boyfriend I caught her in bed with way back when had gotten married the same week, maybe the same day, that she decided I was the one. More red flags. I confronted her and asked if the married guy she had been seeing was the same ex-BF from before. And was it all really over? She swore up and down it wasn't the same person and that it was over and that I shouldn't be worried about the past. And turns it around with why am I throwing him in her face? She has nothing to hide. I'm her first choice. She loves me. I believe her. I want to believe her. I'm nuts about this woman. And anyways, it makes no sense for her to cheat on me with someone who just chose to marry a different woman. One of the things I love about her is she's smart as hell. She's got to see this guy, if it was him, that he just wants a piece of ass on the side and has no respect for her. There's no future there, which I'm sure she wants with somebody. I'm doing everything to show her I'm in for the long haul. I go to family dinner with her adult children, their SOs and her ex-husband, even though it makes me nervous as hell. I do it because they're my future. I hang out with her friends because they're my future. I beg her to take me to the places she goes with her friends, but she seems reluctant, like I'm a secret, and the more I do to show I'm in, the more I feel her getting distant. And then, Friday I found out the ex-BF went to her house the day before, and they cheated, him on his new wife, her on me. So, I confronted her. I started by asking if she loved me. Yes. I asked again if she was sure. Yes. If she had any protests about our relationship. I wanted her to have a chance to tell me. Then I asked her if anything had happened the last few days that she regretted. Nope. I then told her I knew everything and if she had done anything she regretted now. I wanted to give her a chance to explain if something happened that went too far. To say so, apologize. And we could work through it, whatever result that means. Nothing can be fixed if one person doesn't acknowledge a problem. I don't know what you're talking about. Then I started telling her what I knew. At first, she denied anything happened. You're just crazy. Then she tried to minimize it was just lunch. You didn't tell me you had lunch with him. I didn't know I was. He just showed up unannounced. I knew it was much more than lunch and gave her some details. Okay, we hugged. I told her it was more than hugs. She almost accused me of stalking her. That I must have been outside her window, which she knows isn't true. She has 2 dogs who go insane the second I get out of the car. Let alone near the house. Plus, I don't have that kind of time. It took a while, but I think she finally realized I had enough details that we both know she cheated. Regardless of her protests, I know the truth, and she knows I know, at which point she starts telling me that she's been having second thoughts about us. Second thoughts she had every opportunity to talk to me about prior to getting caught. So, I gathered up the stuff I had at her house again, another sign I was serious. I was keeping the things I needed to stay with her more, and have about a half-dozen Amazon orders of crap for her house. Still on the way, and left. Before I left, she said something very weird. I don't hate you, which seemed like an odd declaration. First of all, I'm the one who has the right to feel emotions like hatred in this situation. I'm wondering if there wasn't some strange Freudian admission wrapped in that statement. Or, maybe she was just reeling from having so much dropped on her so fast. I don't know. I'll leave it for the armchair psychiatrists of Reddit to unravel that statement. She also said she never meant to hurt me, but I hear that as I didn't care if I hurt you. Until I did, which is a real lack of empathy. It seems to me if you never want to hurt someone, you tell the married ex-boyfriend who BTW fucks up your life every time he comes around, to piss off before you do. My dilemma. I'm mad. I'm hurt again. But I do love her. I don't know right now if there's any future with her. Again, this is all raw right now. She has the worst self-esteem of anyone I've ever met. And the last few years since the disaster marriage have not been good to her. Emotionally or physically. But I've tried to show her it's the other stuff I'm attracted to about her and that I would help her in any way I can. But it's almost like her self-esteem is so low that if somebody really wants to commit to her as opposed to just use her for respect less sex on the side, she thinks there's something wrong with them for picking her in the first place. Like the old Groucho Marx line, I would never join a club that would have me as a member. Yesterday she promised she was going to work on herself for a bit, but I've heard that every time we split, and from what I can see she doesn't, or doesn't have the tools or resources to really do it. I know if I try to help her, she'll just retreat. She already has. Not sure I'll hear from her again, because she knows I love her and it scares her to death. And I'm sure people will read this and think I must be some sort of loser to put up with all this. But I'm really not. I'm a tall, decent-looking guy, in good shape. And to say I've got my shit together is an understatement. The last few months I've had more women than usual approaching me. It's just a coincidence, really. I started teaching, and other teachers, and even my students' moms have blatantly flirted and even asked me out. A lot of them were very attractive, and if I was single would have been very interesting. But I was committed, and ignored the attention, or politely but firmly declined when that didn't work. I've missed a lot of opportunities, and I feel used, hurt, and like I've wasted a lot of my time. But I still love her. In the meantime, the years are ticking away.